What if I told you it took a near 50-point performance against one of the best teams in the NBA for some people to remember, you know, that back-to-back MVP, that defensive player of the year, one of the best players in the NBA? He's still dangerous. The Milwaukee Bucks are still dangerous. And it was great to see him perform fantastically well against one of the best teams in the NBA. But I think everything we saw from Giannis against the Brooklyn Nets and the Milwaukee Bucks in general, outside of Giannis, encapsulated the little things that they've changed to make them, I think, more playoff ready than they were last season. And I don't think it's been getting talked about quite enough. Obviously, it's going to be getting talked about more after Giannis dropped 49 points. But anyways, I want to talk about those things, Giannis in particular, and the Bucks, and what I think their chances are of doing something great in the playoffs. Now, before I get into that, if you could drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel, that would be much appreciated. I make content like this close to every single day. It's free to do, and it just helps out the video a ton, so that would be greatly appreciated. Now, while the hype around Giannis and the Bucks has died down this season, I think the improvements Giannis has been making steadily over the course of the season have been really important for what the Bucks want to do in the playoffs. Do you remember earlier in the season when Giannis could not make a free throw? Like, if his life depended on it, he was not making it. I'm sorry, Giannis, but you just weren't making it. You could have locked him in a gym for 3 hours and asked him to make 3 consecutive free throws, and he probably would have struggled. Maybe that's a stretch, but you get the point. He was struggling to shoot free throws. That is without a doubt. Since the start of February, Giannis has gone from shooting under 60% on his free throws to shooting over 73%. Which is a very respectable percentage and something that's going to be important come playoff time when teams have no answer but to foul you late in games or during games, whenever it is, when teams have no answer but to foul you, for you to be shooting over 70%, it just makes it a lot different than if you're shooting under 60%. So that's a huge difference Giannis has made, and it's been over a long sample size now. This is no blip on the radar. He's legitimately improved his free throw shooting significantly. Something else he's improved over that same period of time is also his three-point shooting, which has gone up from 28% to 33.6%, which again is very respectable. That's a solid percentage. And although I saw quite possibly the most mind-numbing Twitter exchange I've ever seen in my life, follow me on Twitter as well if you haven't already, that would be cool. But although I saw that exchange between 76ers fans saying pretty much something along the lines of, Giannis is shooting threes, but like he's not good at it. He only shoots 30%. What's the point of him actually taking it? It's not an efficient shot. It's just a dumb shot to take. We'll live with him taking that shot every day, every night. Like, that's just not a threat. If Ben Simmons took that amount of threes, he would be shooting 30% as well. Okay, we'll do it. Like, go ahead, Ben. Go ahead. Score more than 5 points a game. Go ahead. Be hyped about making a game-winning tip. I'm not here to slander Ben Simmons, but it's so dumb because, yeah, Giannis isn't shooting the highest percent on the season. He is at 30%. If you looked at the nuance and saw that over the last 35 games, after struggling, he's shooting closer to 34%, which is close to league average. You would think, oh, that's not actually too bad. Maybe that's not a terrible shot. Maybe when you consider some other factors, like how about when teams load up on him in the paint and he has a wall, which people have criticized him for not being able to go around, so maybe he shoots a 3 instead, and he has some certain games like against the Brooklyn Nets where he shoots 4 out of 8. Maybe that can translate to the playoffs. Think of an Anthony Davis. He shot 33% from 3 last season during the regular season. He's shooting 26% this season. He's never been a fantastic 3-point shooter. In the playoffs, he happened to get hot and he shot 38%, and it really helped the Lakers out. Obviously making a crucial 3 against the Nuggets, but just in general, having that floor spacing, particularly when he moved to the 5, you could see a similar thing from Giannis. Sure, you would like to see him just run and dunk the ball every single possession, which people criticize him for, but then they also criticize him for not doing it enough. It's a funny world we live in, but we'd love to see him do that. The reality is, yeah, he's different to us, but he's not a superhuman. He can't just go on every single possession, regardless of the defensive scheme, regardless of if he's fatigued, regardless of any of those factors, and just dunk the ball. Like, he just can't do that. So having a 3-point shot at a decent percentage is something that's nice to have. And then, like I said, on certain nights, you're going to get hot and shoot a decent percentage and help your team in the grand scheme of things. Help yourself, help the offense. It's a good shot to have. So I know 76ers fans don't represent the rest of the NBA community or even all of 76ers fans, but it's a decent shot to have. That's my thoughts on Giannis' shooting improvement. I think it's very important. I mean, his mid-range shooting, that's a little bit of a different story. He has been struggling from the mid-range this season. He's actually got worse over the last 35 games. Against Brooklyn, it seemed like it was money, but on the season, it hasn't been an effective shot. Last season, however, during the regular season, it was more effective, and then in the playoffs, it wasn't great. So it's not a shot you want him to take too much. But again, if he has to take it every now and then when he can't get to the rim, you can live with it every now and then. Like, it's a shot that sometimes he'll take and sometimes he'll make. It's not particularly a shot that you'll love to see, but I think come playoff time, when you're running more pick and rolls, which we'll talk about in just a little bit, when you have guys that can actually space the floor better than Marvin Williams and Eric Bledsoe, and you have PJ Tucker, the corner shop specialist. I don't know why I said corner shop, but you get the point. PJ Tucker, Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday, even Dante DiVincenzo, Pat Connaughton, those guys that can all shoot the three ball, he probably won't be asked to shoot as many mid-range shots because he's either getting to the rim, taking threes, or dumping it off to outside players. And I just talked about the pick and roll, but I think this is another thing that the Bucks have in their favor heading into the postseason. Last season, we saw Giannis be really efficient in the pick and roll, but he didn't do it a ton. I would have liked to see the Bucks do it even more, but this season, I think you just have the opportunity to switch it up. You've got Drew Holiday now, and you've got Chris Middleton, both good guards in terms of running the pick and roll, and all of a sudden, you can get switches that you love. You could get Drew Holiday's man, who might be a smaller guard, onto Giannis. Then all of a sudden, the defense collapses on him. He's kicking it out to an open shooter, an aspect of his game that he has improved. He's improved his passing. The numbers don't really seem like there's much of a difference because there's not, but you just see that his recognition is a little bit faster. It's just a little bit better. And I think it comes from faith in his shooters as well. Instead of having Eric Bledsoe, who I slander on this channel, I don't really hate Eric Bledsoe. Bucks fans probably do absolutely hate him, so you guys probably don't mind. But instead of having him, you've got some legitimate shooters that Giannis doesn't mind passing to. And I think it's the combination of him actually just becoming a better passer and reading the game better, and also the fact that he's got more confidence and he doesn't mind kicking that pass a fraction early, even if he thinks he might still be able to get a shot off. So you've got those things, you add that into the pick and roll mix, and you've just got a different way of breaking down defenses when Giannis can't do it all himself, when he can't spin past a guy, when he can't just get to the rim and dunk the ball, or his three-point shot isn't falling on that given night. You've got an ability to get there with the pick and roll, and I think that's something that I'd like to see in the playoffs. That's something that they've got a little bit different than what they had last year. They had a pick and roll game for sure, but now you've got two guys that can run that, and it just adds a little bit of variation, which is what you want in the playoffs. You want different looks. That's what the Bucks were criticized for. Defensively, they weren't doing enough. They weren't switching. Offensively, they didn't have enough guys that could shoot the ball, could create for others, that could take the ball out of Giannis's hands when Giannis wasn't doing everything that he did in the regular season. Now all of a sudden, you're switching defensively. PJ Tucker, that's something that we need to talk about. He's been good so far. We saw what he could do against the Brooklyn Nets. Sure, KD torched him. I mean, KD torches everyone. There's not many people in the NBA that can block his shots. Am I right? But you get the point. KD is going to get his buckets. But you saw what PJ Tucker can be. He's a pest. He's someone that can switch positions. Now all of a sudden, you can play Giannis at the 5 or Tucker at the 5, whoever's really at the 5. It doesn't matter in closing lineups, and the team just looks a lot more switchable. It looks a lot better without Brook Lopez on the floor, and I think that's a huge difference that the Milwaukee Bucks have now from last season. You've got more shooters, you've got more creators, you've got more defenders, you've got more switchability, you've got more versatility. That's why in the playoffs, I'm looking at a team that's going to have some great defenders on the floor at all times. I mean, Drew Holiday was able to clamp up Kyrie Irving. And you think to a 7-game series, Drew Holiday is going to make life tough for any player that is on him, particularly Kyrie Irving, a James Harden. Those guys are going to have it tough. And although Kevin Durant is going to get his points regardless, PJ Tucker, Giannis, Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday, all of those guys are going to make life tough on him. Pat Connaughton, maybe not so much. Maybe that's not the matchup you'd like, but all of those guys can make things tough for him. I also like the fact that Giannis is shooting better, despite what people might say about it being a useless shot. It is very useful, and I like the fact, obviously, the Bucks have another great creator and 3-level scorer in Drew Holiday. You've got Bobby Buckets Portis coming off the bench. You've got a different look to this team that they didn't have last year, and that's why, in general, I think this team can go further than they did last year. If I were to give you my 2 favorites out east, I would say the Nets and the Bucks. That would be my opinion. Again, if you think the 76ers are coming out of the East, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, you're wrong, because they're a great team. I mean, the Celtics could cause an upset. The Heat could cause an upset. There's definitely some teams that could do some damage outside of those two teams that I like. But personally, I've seen enough from the Bucks. Even Budenholzer, even he's giving Giannis more than 30 minutes a night in crucial games. That's crazy. Come playoff time, I don't see Giannis playing any less than 40 minutes. I think you're going to have to drag him off the court to get him to play less than 40 minutes a night. So that's going to be a big difference, because last season, when Giannis was off the floor, they were terrible. This season, they're below average, but that's better than terrible, so that's an improvement as well. And hopefully you won't be seeing Giannis off the floor as much this season come playoff time. In general, I like what I'm seeing from the Bucks. Different looks, different aspects to their game that they're incorporating. They're just prepping for the postseason. That's all they're doing this season. And the numbers might not be as good, the wins might not be coming in as frequently, but everything else is looking better, and it's looking more postseason ready, which is why I think Giannis is making the improvements and the Bucks are making those improvements. Have a great day. I'll catch you next time. Bye.